Good day to all our listeners. Welcome to SIST, your communication of scientific and technical information. This is Clarissa, your active sister. So today's focus will be ethics of science writing. As we know, ethics or morals are norms for conduct that distinguish between acceptable and unacceptable behavior, or between right or wrong. It can also be a method, procedure, or perspective for deciding how to act and for analyzing complex problems and issues. In most cases, researchers and science writers are faced with challenges in upholding code and policies for research ethics. This situation was highlighted in the case of Lauren Hans, who has research that may yield a better understanding of Parkinson's disease. Let's hear about this from Precious.
Hi Clarissa, that is right. Lauren Jens is carrying out important research on dopamine receptors in the brain that may yield a better understanding of Parkinson's disease. When the abstract deadline for the National Neurosciences meeting approached, each trainee in the lab, including Lauren, was asked what he or she planned to submit. Lauren hesitated to respond. Dr. Jim Cummings, her postdoctoral advisor, urged her to utilize data presented at a recent lab conference because it made a good story and she would have plenty of time to confirm and extend the results before the meeting. Lauren preferred to hold off because, as she explained to Dr. Cummings, she recently has been unable to confirm the main result fully. Dr. Cummings insisted, saying that Lauren was being too timid and that others would get the credit if she delayed. He added that Lauren should not be concerned as the experimental results were consistent with theory. Dr. Cummings said, Lauren, you must be more aggressive with your data if you are to succeed in the cutthroat world of contemporary science. After all, it's publish or perish. Why don't you take the first authorship on this abstract? Reluctantly, Lauren submitted the abstract, and to her surprise and Dr. Cummings' delight, it was selected for a plenary slide presentation. Despite an enormous effort, Lauren could not replicate or extend the results and announced to Dr. Cummings that she wished to withdraw the abstract. Visibly irritated by Lauren's request, Dr. Cummings told her harshly that this was not an option and pressed her to do more experiments. This is Precious Glanilo reporting.
Thank you, Precious. Now back here in the studio, we have Marga Espino and Gladys Felix from the University of the Philippines Open University, who will share with us some background and trends of science writing and scientific writing. Thank you for joining us today, Marga and Gladys.
Thank you for having us today, Clarissa. Hi to all the listeners.
It's an honor to be in your show, Clarissa.
Oh, come on, don't mention it. So let's go straight to this. How does science writing differ from scientific writing? Marga?
Clarissa, it's as simple as this. Science writing is intended for the general public, the non-experts and non-scientists, while scientific writing is technical writing by a scientist that is intended for his peers or other scientists.
Interesting. What about you, Gladys? Could you tell us about the ethics of science writing and scientific writing? Just why do we need this?
Ethics of science writing helps us foster the dissemination of accurate information regarding science and technology, in keeping with the highest standards of journalism. Science writers should strive to be accurate and unbiased in their professional work. They should also refrain from discrimination and their work should be their own. It is also important that science writers support a healthy exchange of views and opinions in science, but also realize when scientific principles are no longer questioned by the majority of reputable scientists involved.
Let me also add to that. Science writers should avoid any potential conflict of interest and should immediately admit publicly disseminated mistakes and make every effort to correct them.
There are also codes and policies for research ethics.
That's right, Gladys. First, of course, is that researchers should be honest and objective. They should also possess qualities like integrity, carefulness, respect for intellectual property, responsible publication, responsible mentoring, respect for colleagues, social responsibility, non-discrimination, competence, and of course, legality. They must also protect not only the human subjects but also welfare of the animals.
Is it really important that researchers and writers adhere to these ethics?
Yes, because it promotes knowledge, truth, and avoidance of error, as well as moral and social values like accountability, fairness, social responsibility, and human rights. It also helps to build public support for research.
That's true. Ethical lapses in research can significantly harm human and animal subjects, students, and the public. People are more likely to fund or support a research project if they can trust the quality and integrity of the research.
Great. And you both know that we are currently in the age of digital science writing. How does this affect science writers?
Well, the internet provides a wider environment for online science writers, content curators, and scientists who populate websites, blogs, EPUBs, and even feature print issues about science. Science writing, as well as the digital science communication, nowadays involves creating videos, podcasts, animations, slideshows, and whiteboard lectures while fueling the powerful social media engines that drive it all at the moment.
Thanks, Morgan and Gladys. We have learned a lot from you. Again, thank you for being our guest today. On our return, we'll listen to some of the netizens buzz about ethics of science writing. Don't go away! And we're back! As promised, here's the buzz we captured from one of the famous campuses in Quezon City. Let's roll it!
Hey Janlin, I've read that despite of the existence of guidelines, many researchers and publishers still fail to meet the ethical standards.
That's right, Jennifer. We have been discussing in our DevCom 263 class that two of the most common issues committed in violation of the ethical policies in science writing are plagiarism and authorship. Plagiarism is the most common form of scientific misconduct. It is the use of another person's published or unpublished ideas, words, and works without asking their permission or without giving them the appropriate credit.
So is plagiarism always intentional?
Plagiarism is often intentional, but there are some cases that it is unintentional. There are those who unintentionally commit plagiarism because of lack of clear understanding of plagiarism and on how to avoid it. Another situation leading to plagiarism is the difficulty of paraphrasing complex ideas or methods. Language barrier is also a main factor.
And are there other forms of plagiarism?
Yes, there are different forms of plagiarism. There is self-plagiarism, also known as text reuse or text recycling. Another one is duplicate publication or redundant publishing. It is committed when the entire text in the whole manuscript were lifted from previously published work and submitted by the author as if it were an original piece of work.
I've also heard that some authors republish their work in chunks without acknowledging the original publication of the whole work.
Oh, that's what they call data partitioning. Another form of plagiarism is fabrication, falsification, and omission. Fabrication is the presentation of non-existent data and results. Falsification includes the manipulation of data, while omission is intentionally omitting information to arrive at a desirable outcome. I also remember that authorship is another ethical issue in science writing. The two most common problems of authorship are determination of author responsibilities and the authorship order that should reflect the author's contribution to the work.
That's right. The parish or publish system indeed creates a massive pressure among researchers and academicians to continuously produce academic works and to have their names listed on numerous publications.
Whoa, what an insightful conversation. Keep your notes open and pens ready as we'll have another guest when we return. Stay tuned. You're still listening to SIST, your communication of scientific and technical information. We have another guest today, Jez Biliano Fabreag, who will share to us the significance of ethics of science writing to our society. Hello, Jez.
Hi, Clarissa. Thanks for having me today.
So earlier we had Marga and Gladys talk about the ethics of science writing and scientific writing. Now I wanted to hear your thoughts. Why is ethical science writing important to our society?
Hmm. You know, Clarissa, everyone should know that writing responsibly about scientific breakthroughs is just as important as conducting research with utmost objectivity, honesty, and integrity. As interpreters of scientific findings, writers are as important as the researchers themselves. Outputs of unethical research studies and science writing may mislead people, agencies, and the government. It may even cause chaos within the scientific community and result to people's mistrust to the scientific community, which of course we don't want to happen.
It's because of the pressure that publish or perish concept creates, some researchers do not adhere to the ethics of science. So what consequences could this possibly cause, Jez?
Proper attribution or citation of references is a way of genuinely facilitating the flow of knowledge from one researcher to another or from a network to another. For me, it leads to more opportunities for productive discourse among academics, lawmakers, and advocates. Stealing the work of others is also stealing their contribution and other potential roles to this process. Recurring issues of plagiarism and authorship abuse may stain the reputation and credibility of the whole scientific community. Policymakers, advocates, and lobbyists, and development workers may even opt to cut ties with scientists and science writers that often break the code of ethics. If lawmakers will hesitate to seek scientific results as basis of policies, our laws may only be based on unsubstantive generalizations. It was mentioned earlier that people are more likely to fund or support a research project if they can trust the quality and integrity of research. So scientists and writers who adhere to ethics and standards actually prioritize public good instead of self-interest. Excellence and good moral values must go hand in hand in every pursuit to create and share knowledge.
Indeed, knowledge generation, creation, and sharing processes must be appropriately guided by ethics and standards. Thank you for the insights, Jez. Hey listeners, thank you for spending another 10 minutes with us today. Join us again tomorrow for another segment on SIST, your communication of scientific and technical information. This is Clarissa, your active sister. Have a good day, everyone.